from our position, we see ourselves as experts. I mean, 3.5, 4 years ago when we took the business over, we were just selling pottery. Pieces of pot came in mainly from Asia, sold as sandwichware only, and was delivered. And with the emergence of our friends, the pure web players, the strategy was really somewhat doomed because it was actually just being competing on price rather than service. And the quality in Bathstore has always been beyond question for the market it's attacking. But obviously, when you look online and you just look at a pretty picture, you can't tell what's behind that from a quality point of view. So we were quite keen to have a proper omni-channel, and we spoke about it over 3 years ago. And what did omni-channel really mean? So I suppose, as far as we're concerned, we do see ourselves as experts. The customers do the talking, obviously, by repeating their purchases. But when you're selling as many as we are, obviously now and then something goes wrong, but very, very small in number. But actually, we do invest. We have the biggest back office team in the industry now. We have around 20 people on the road vetting and checking people, and we're very vigilant around this service proposition, because at the end of the day, that's our last point of contact with the customer.
I mean, I think we've got some pictures up here of some of the showroom changes that you're doing. So the company is changing a lot, and you are changing it a lot, and you're leading it much more down this service-led proposition. I think nothing indicates that more than some of the showroom changes you've been doing. So we've lined some pictures up here. So this was the Baker Street showroom, which is one of the flagship ones, I guess. This is the one I walk past every day. So I suppose this is what most people would think of as what Bathstore used to look like. It was when it first started, the big primary colours. Very crowded,
colours almost looking more like a Thomas Cook showroom, if those of you remember that. And obviously very crowded. Everything in the brochure they tried to shoehorn into the showroom.
But this is now,
Baker Street
so
now.
This is the afterwards. This is what it looks like now after the makeover.
Yeah.
Talk us through this.
So you can see that we took around 40-45% of the product out of the showroom. The product was still available, but more to sell the dream and the service proposition. And you can see around here very much coming into the arena of the very high-end independent price points. Not high-end price point, but the look that you achieve. There are some fantastic independents out there, and I think Bathstore at the time was just giving that market away, and this has shown. Yeah, so
this is Harrogate.
Harrogate,
so again,
Town, as you know, again very similar. You couldn't really see the product for ticketing at the time, and actually hiding it like under a bushel. If you go to Harrogate now, you'll see a lot less product, very dream-driven, no clutter on the windows. We obviously do use promotional techniques. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a moment. And we have our own design service now inside store. So the screens you see there before you click it on is actually that unveils the customer's design, very similar to the kitchen industry. So rather than getting into this situation where you have the computer between you and the customer is enjoying the experience and having that emotional contact with our designer.
I mean, the space in it is what always jumps out at me, is how much stuff you've taken out, not what you've put in necessarily.
And I think really this footprint is very similar to those of you that are in the kitchen market. What less is more. When people can see the dream and see the look, and particularly being a fitted a provider of the installation service now, they have to see the quality of the fit as well to get that confidence. If that was just a row of sinks lined up or toilets, it doesn't give that impression. Very much the dream feeling that we strive for in the kitchen market as well.
So what kind of difference has this made then, say in some of these showrooms that you've done these makeovers on already? What kind of difference has it made?
You're talking now, I mean, we've had this business coming up for 4 years this summer, and it's en route to have doubled its turnover. The e-com side was around 6% of turnover. We took over, it'd be pushing about 15 this year. So, I think on the line of just selling ceramics, we've more like been bobbing along with the market, which is very low single-digit growth. It's not gone through the roof, and this has given us a big step up in turnover.
Yeah, I mean, it is very impressive. I think, especially the Baker Street one is the one that I've seen.
Yeah,
and it does make a big difference. Now, but I think there's also a big shift in how you're branding yourself as well, and to be much more sophisticated in the branding. We've actually got one of your ads up here, which is very much about Bathstore, the brand.
There's a room in your home where big things happen. A room for eureka moments. Clarity with a head full of shampoo. tubs become ships, and bubbles become beards. A room where city slickers meet their most important client of the day. A room where deliveries have been tweaked, pitches perfected, best man speeches well rehearsed. A room where little tests are taken and big news is broken. A room that matters. Bathrooms matter. Bathstore.
That is a much more sophisticated. How'd you get that job as the voiceover man? I should do that for the rest of this interview. Gary,
you could do it.
Can you tell me if that is again, that's a leap forward in how you
I think when we came into the business, the most importantly, the business was losing money and on a road to nowhere really. So the first job for us was to secure the organisation. This year has seen a solid third year, solid growth and solid profit growth, and it's enabled us to move just from tactical advertising into setting the scene as an expert and actually putting the emotional connect between us and the customer, as well as just selling on price. And that's been very important to us. So that started in August. We repeated it over the winter sale period, and we topped and tailed the tactical advertising with the brand, and it's worked very well.
I mean, one of the, I guess the paradoxes of that is the very heavily advertised discounting that you go through as well. So if you walk past one of those showrooms, it does still stay in the window 50% off, 10% off extra.
Yeah.
So do those things sit well together? The idea that
well, I think the first thing is anyone who's tried everyday low pricing pulls their tickets down as quick as they can, because we all like a bargain, don't we? So the first thing is people like promotional techniques. I think most importantly is having integrity around your promotions. And if you pick up our brochure, everything inside that is of good value. So we do actually use sales either to take down lines. I mean, we're currently, as Steve and the team are moving at least 20% range refresh every year. So we do have a reason to have a sale, and we sell with integrity. And that's something we've been very proud of since we've been in. So I think to remove promotional techniques in totality would not be good for our our growth, really.
But you don't yo-yo, do you?
No, we don't yo-yo. As a recent exploits of some of our competitors have shown that they've had some ads banned recently out there, and we make sure that we stay credible with our customers, and we're clearing lines, or we have special promotions, and we'll use a real discount as a call bird, so you get a really good value to pull other products through, rather than yo-yo pricing, which is not in our model at all.
And the truth is, you wouldn't do it if it didn't work, would you?
Well, I think the consumer, whilst the consumer on one hand loves a bargain, they also won't believe you if you say that the bath was £2,000 last week, it's £1,000 this week, and by the way, it's the same price it was 3 weeks ago. Customers research this market, as we all know. They start online, they come into store, they're on these projects for some weeks and months, and they're very savvy with how the pricing is outside of the market. So think they're just going to fall for it. You're underestimating the very savvy consumer.
And you have to have the service to back it up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You touched on it a little bit already, but going into the full installation that you did was a brave move.
Very brave.
It got a bit of stick off people saying there's just no way you can do installation well on the kind of scale that you need to do it at.
Yeah.
So did you see it as a brave thing, or did you see it as you couldn't not do it?
Well, I saw it as two things. Firstly, there had to be a point of difference between us and the web, as well as the product. You experienced the product, but you had to have bought it. Secondly, why would you come to us as well with all these the clicks and bricks? The service proposition is what people are looking for, and our background has always been understanding that market anyway. And I just saw it as us pushing the daylight between us and the web. And for someone just a pure web business, it's very difficult for them to actually enter our market. If you think about it, they're not going to go and open 200 shops tomorrow, are they? So redress the store. All of the stores will have been refitted in the next few months, so they'll all be in good shape compared to where they were 3 or 4 years ago. We have a very big infrastructure to support that, from a call centre base and a field base, which I think some of our competitors in the past have tried but not been prepared to put that cash inside the infrastructure, so that we can keep an eye on the fitters, because they are all subcontractors. We do vet them, but you can't control them 24/7, so we have to have a team out there looking at them and be prepared to put that investment first, rather than, I think, in the past, a lot of people have said, well, we'll go and get the fitting business moving, and then we put some guys on the road to service it, and that's not how it works. You have to be prepared to put your money where your mouth is, and that's why.
I think that's a lot of that comes from your kitchen background as well. I think,
yeah, exactly.
Because there's a lot of bathroom independents who don't touch installation.
Yeah,
you're doing 30 million quid a year.
I think if we were sitting here now and we were doing all of our turnover on just delivering ceramics, we'd all be very happy chaps. The point is, the market is very competitive. You have to have a point of difference, and you have to show customers, I think, in this quite complex market of fitting a bathroom, which I think is somewhat more complex than working on the ground floor of a kitchen or whatever. You know, it's a big job. That you're there can give them the security, and I think that's what a national expert brand does for people. We're there, you know, we do get issues. Very rarely when we get them, we jump all over them, and we make sure that they're dealt with, you know, and I think that's where people get that security from a big brand.
Yeah, and they're prepared to pay more for a full circle service,
exactly,
aren't they?
Yeah, it's the solution, you know, time is money.
I mean, obviously, you mentioned it a bit about the online side of the business. It did start out as Bathstore.com, even though it didn't do anything online.
Yeah, that was strange, really. Yeah.
They stuck .com at the end because everybody was doing it. What give us a bit more of an idea of how you're doing with your online sales and how that fits in with what you're doing in store? Well,
I think if you're what we call a bricks and clicks, or you really want to embrace omni-channel, you do have to think about the buying process the customer goes through from research, and I think people get a little bit obsessed by just, you know, being transactional on site. So you have to look at the image you present online, because 70 to 80% of our customers start their journey online now anyway, whether it be mobile's getting more and more usage, but let's call it, you know, online generally. So what sort of presentation are you giving to the customer? We've had to invest heavily in imagery, site navigation, all those things that get the customer into the journey, as well as being transactional, and then that leads for us into the store. And I've noticed over the years that the opportunities in the independent sector for people to get that right are there, and I don't think anybody will survive with a store alone unless they are just in a very, very small market. So for us, the omni-channel as a form, the web as a form of media for us has been the key, really, as well as obviously tripling the sales as we have done, but that comes along with it, really.
So was it 15% you said your turnover is online?
Yeah.
So is that what would you like that to be? What do you think?
Well, the people that are brighter than I, the lads at Google, reckon if you're in between 15 to 20 as a serious bricks and clicks, then you're doing a good job.
But then presumably, can you measure whether or not the online is bringing people into the store?
Yeah, we track. We have software that tracks where the customer starts in their journey. We also have quote conversion online, so you can come in store, take your quote back online and convert, or you can start in store, start online and finish in store. So we've tried to encapsulate the whole process for the consumer.
It's not just about transactional.
Yeah, and also the guys and girls in the stores are incentivised for that sale. So if you actually come online tonight and order, and you happen to be in, I don't know, in the location, let's pick Chelsea, somebody in the store will check your order. They might give you a call in the morning and say, you didn't really need 6 sets of taps, did you? And then make contact from the store end. So you start to get that local connection as well from their postcodes, which I think joins it together, whereas before it was run as a separate online organisation.
I mean, you've to bring that out a bit about consumers themselves, because you've been in this game a long time, but consumers have changed significantly, haven't they? How much are they leading what you're doing, and are you understanding the trends of how they shop?
Well, I think it's pretty common knowledge now that most people use their mobiles and online to start their shopping experience anyway. Nobody can afford not to be in that cycle, and I think that's the important point. If you look at your buying cycle of a consumer and you're missing a vital part of it, more for you, because actually they're out there researching now. And it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to have the marketing budget of a multi-million-pound organisation. You can run it locally, you can run it via organic, you get your name out there by reputation, and actually you don't have to be spending hundreds of thousands of pounds in getting a decent website together. You know, so if you are sitting out there 1 or 2 stores and you haven't got a web presence, you are missing a vital part of the customer journey, and that's important.
It's not about selling online, it's about engaging them at that first point of contact.
And you can, obviously, transactional sites are helpful. It's normally a lower value transaction because it tends to be a distress purchase at that point. Majority of customers, very similar to the kitchen industry, need that advice and that service that we give in our sector. So, but most importantly, it's actually getting that service proposition across.
What about when they're in store as well? What are they looking for when they get that far?
Well, I think from our end, and I know it's very common in the independent sector, we're now the only national to do a home design consultation. So if you come in now, just with an idea, someone will go out in one of the 150 branded cars that we've got now, come round and hold your hand through the whole journey. It doesn't necessarily have to be fitted. We'll supply only, because that's a growing part of our business. But actually, we're now giving that at-home service as well, which then brings the customer back to store, get an idea, understand the family and their requirements. And then
that's an expectation that they have now, isn't it?
I think
a very high level of what they expect from you, so it's very difficult to surpass that expectation.
But I don't think there's many national brands now that will actually come out to a customer's home in our sector. It's very common in the kitchen industry. We did it been doing it for many years. But in the bathroom sector, it's nationally it's very rare occurrence really.
So we're in the middle of the KBB show here. There's an awful lot of brands. Bathstore is the brand. You don't stock any brands. Would you ever
stock loads of product?
You stock loads of products, but you don't. Would you ever stock branded product?
We're not. We're 95% of our product is our own. It's from Asia, which we develop with our suppliers. We have one or two brands in, but we don't have a leaning towards brands particularly. Why do I want to have something in that all someone does all day is price matches it online? These are exclusive designs for us, developed with us, and actually we're trying to bring stuff to market for the wider audience in the UK, not the very high-end, highly priced products. In many cases, we all know, come from the same locations where we buy our product from anyway.
But if you're trying to give that service-led proposition, to have very well-known brands as well can only help that, surely?
Not really. I don't think it makes any difference. If you look at the higher you go up the tree, the smaller the market gets. We're in the mass market. Most consumers do not have an off-the-tongue knowledge of brands. What they come in for is the person in the store that meets them, the emotional connect, the design process that they go through with us, and the security and service that you get from a company that's going to be there when something, they need your help. Most consumers don't have a clue about the design in their home, whether it be kitchens or bathrooms. They need you to hold their hand and give them the knowledge that an expert can, and that's why I see that as far more important training our teams than worrying whether I've got a very high-end brand inside my offer. I mean, it doesn't work for everybody, and if you're in a very niche and you're selling 20 grand bathrooms, then good luck to you, on you go. But it doesn't fit our model.
And this is the one you're not going to give me a straight answer to, I know, but your background is kitchens. The model you're describing is very kitcheny.
Yep.
Would you ever do kitchens?
Well, look, Stevens as a backer, a very, very large organisation. I think you never say die. If the right opportunity comes up, we have the thing about what we do now. We have the expertise inside the organisation from an installation point of view and a design point of view that could enable us to do it. But we still see a huge opportunity inside the bathroom market,
where there's much less competition as well for the kind of scale that you operate at.
Yes,
because you're, I guess, who do you see as your competitors? Is it the big multiple DIY sheds, or what? Who are you looking at?
Well, I think
don't say independents because they'll lynch you.
Well, first of all, I think the specialists are a key competitor of ours. I think the guys in the sheds are somewhat confused with what they're doing at the moment. They're trying to chase the web, and actually they should be concentrating on their own service levels. So I think we're sort of in the middle market. The good thing for us is we have a good national spread. So of course the competition are the independents, but hopefully by us putting a more professional position in the market with our brand advertising, with the way we do business, is just reinforcing the point that as a consumer you need to buy from an expert. Walking into a shed and putting 3 or 4 bits of pot on the back of a van is not what consumers want. They want someone who can hold their hand, and I think the more we do with that, the more it is, it's better for the industry anyway. Surely
those big sheds are only going to wake up to the kind of model that you're doing now, aren't they? Because they're big ticket stuff. They are valuable sales compared to a drill or a packet of tungsten tip screws or something. So they're only going to follow the same route.
I think on their list of priorities on a day-to-day basis, I don't think bathrooms will be well up there at the moment. You've only got to pick, one of your magazines out and see that they're downsizing, they're worried about space. You've got acquisitions happening from abroad coming in, so they're pretty confused at the moment, which I think is great for our sector. We just concentrate on what we do every day. So I think maybe they will one day, but I think they've got a long way to go yet. Yeah.
So what's next for you then? What's on your agenda that you're in your next sort of 2, 3, 4 years? What are you planning on?
Well, we've just opened our first store in Doha, which is opened last week. We're looking to expand in that region of the world at the moment, so that's quite exciting for us, and to actually further our opposition in the UK. The fight against the sheds and everything else, and keep growing. It's for us in the UK. It's a growth story. We don't need to open a load more stores. We've got good coverage. There are 1 or 2 positions where we would say we're a secondary location where we want to be more in the high street. But I think the international expansion is important for us, and actually doing what we do better. So we say.
So how many stores is enough stores?
I think we're not far off. I think it's more about where those stores are. So you could be in a spa town and be in a semi-trade location, where I'd like to be more front of house, more on a high street positioning. So over time, as those leases expire or we change our offer, we'll actually start to reposition the network in that way.
Now, before you arrived here today, I asked you to come up with a list of what you think all retailers should be looking at right now. So I'm going to cue this up here. So a lot of this we've gone through it already, but it does kind of round it all up quite succinctly, I think. So number 1 here, you've got redefining the role of the salesperson. So what does that mean? Well,
I think from what you touched on it earlier, what the salesperson needs to be is very much a designer. And I know we have some great designers out there in the world, but also designers that can ask for the deal. So actually service-led proposition that people know how to close, because many of us will admit we get somebody in, they're a fantastic designer, and they'll design all day long and never take the customer out of the market. So I think it's having that balance from a salesperson's perspective, really.
And omnichannel you've talked a little bit about, but what's your definition of that if you were a small guy with one shop? What's your definition of
think just to repeat what we said earlier is look at the process customers go through and just double check you're checking all those touch points. If you're just a shop and you haven't got anything going on mobile or online or anything, you're missing about the start point of around 80% of the consumers. And that's crazy. They're not just going to wander into your store. They have more of a destination way of shopping now than they've ever done. And particularly if you're selling brands, they'll be out there comparing the brand prices all day long. So you have to be very careful how you present that as well.
And number 3 here was, does your website match the image of your showroom? And that's one of my frustrations as well, is that people spend an awful lot of time making very nice showrooms, and then the website looks like a bag of shit.
I'd say it's not, from a personal journey we've been on for the last 3 years, is sorting out all of our stores, and that takes many millions of pounds of investment. But we're almost there. We're not happy. We never will be. We have to continually go and refresh. But we're getting to a point now where we'll end up on what I call a maintenance capital spend, where we start just to go round and refresh with new products as we bring new products in every year. But 3 or 4 years ago, the stores didn't have the light. You could go into a store, you would have thought it was shut down. So now the lights are on, and they are LED. And the store's looking pretty good,
But it's that research journey, isn't it? It's where they first see you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And and again, this follows on from that. Is what services do you have that the online guys aren't doing?
Well, I think
promoting that.
Yeah, I think from a service perspective, there's no one pure online, that gives a fitted home design service anyway. So I think that's the point of difference. We have the product and we have the prices. So I think from our perspective, it's actually just to complete that circle and make sure that the consumers know we do everything. And now you come in, we'll come around this afternoon and measure up for you and take all of the guesswork out of it, which I know the independents do anyway.
I've got 2 to go here. I'm going to open this up for some questions after these last 2. So have a little think, and I will just point at somebody randomly if no one puts their hand up. I'm looking at you, Nottingham. Okay, number 5. Are you using the latest hardware and design technology?
Yeah, that's a question. Are you? I mean, that's the point. If you go in and you can't boot your computer up and you haven't got any software in that can do a proper design, then, I know some of the kitchen guys still use pen and paper or pencil and paper, and that might be your USP in your store as long as you can do it. But the technology out there at the moment is fantastic, and it's not expensive. If you're not using it, that's more for you, really.
And personalised and smooth shopping experience, and that's quite a broad one.
Yeah, CRM, customer relationship management. We all talk about it, but you can enable that with systems now inside the organisation and make sure the guesswork and the post-it notes disappear. It's very easy when you've got, a number of people in store, day off, and everyone forgets they've got to ring Mrs. Favell in the morning. So it's using technology as well to make sure the customer knows you're in control at all stages in the process. Because once you're past that emotive, I part with my money, it becomes a bit of a roller coaster. It's a very, very difficult fit. It's very emotional. People don't always understand what's going to go on through that process once you've taken their money. And you have to have a CRM system inside your organisation to make sure you're in control, basically.
But it gives your business value as well, doesn't it? Because if it's all appeared,
and you get the data, you capture the data for future reference.
Right, does anyone have any questions for Gary? Anyone want to put their hand up and wave at me before I just point at somebody? Yes, sir, at the back. Brexit.
Ah, dear, here we go.
The one word.
Well, first of all, I can't talk for the company. And look, my only view on Brexit is, first and foremost, from a business point of view, the majority of what we do transactionally on a purchase point of view is from the Far East. So we're governed by the dollar more than anything. What do I think as an individual? My own view. Most employment is created from an entrepreneurial standpoint. If you look over recent years, most of the jobs that have been created have come from the likes of us in this room. So as far as I'm concerned, I think I have a mixed view at the moment. I mean, I'm more, if you ask me personally, more on the outside of it. Concerned what it does to the dollar. But people have to make their own choices, and individuals will. But all of our business really, and the growth that we've created, if you looked at the stats, it's come from the entrepreneurs in the UK. That's where the growth's come. We haven't got any growth from the big internationals, and they're hung up about keeping that locked in to stop anyone else coming onto their turf. So it's an unusual situation, but we'll see what happens.
This is an industry lives and dies by mostly Italian and German, companies. Fine. So it will affect this, not particularly your business, but it will affect this industry quite significantly.
It was a personal question, wasn't it? You asked me from our end. I think, I mean, at the end of the day, you'll decide when you walk in that booth, won't you? And I think the relationship with many of the manufacturers in Europe will have to be secured in some way, but who knows? It might likely be like the Scottish team once they get in there.
Right, anybody else? Yes, sir. Oh, hello, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
We all know the online players are taking an increasing share of the bathroom market.
Sorry, Steve was just asking about where he sees online bathroom sales going in the next few years.
Yeah. Well, I think if my answer will be aimed at firstly the people that put product online that's not very good quality. So then you have the buying cycle. So will people repeat that purchase in 5 years' time when the thing starts falling apart from a mechanical point of view? That's one question. Secondly, one answer. Secondly, how do they get into the bigger market? Because once you get a level of turnover, everybody's challenge is to start to expand their offer. How do you expand it? We've seen some of the players now moved into cabinetry. That's telling me there is maybe some sort of glass ceiling that's already happening. There's been some big transactions on people buying the pure play guys because they think it's going to carry on. But you and I know from a consumer's perspective, if you've got a huge purchase, you do really want to see the product. You do really have that confidence. You do really want that real design opportunity that someone with bricks and clicks can give you. So I think it will stall, and I think you'll see the guys like us that can give the real service and the opportunity growing and starting to take that share back.
But they are quite strong brands, though, aren't they? I mean, they could take those brands onto the high street, couldn't they?
Yeah, if you think from a national perspective, we know how long it's taken Bathstore to get to the number of stores it's got now. It's taken 25 years. Are they going to be able to do that overnight? Maybe not. If you look at the big boys, the Amazons of this world, they're only opening a handful of stores. The skill set of running data and the distribution centre are totally different to running a chain of outlets. That's a DNA that a company needs to grow over time, and that's where I think their challenge is. So I would see if you've got shops and you get your omni-channel fixed, sorted, then you should only prosper really going forward.
Well, we've probably got time for one more. If anybody wants to wave their hands in the air.
That's good.
Anybody more? Yes, sir.
Can I just ask, what is the design process that goes through when creating your own brand of design?
What is the design process that you
we have an in-house design. Is there a designer here, works with our suppliers. We look at we look at the trends, we look at the ranges that we're selling that need refreshing. So what we try to do at the moment is to have a target of around a 20% refresh every year. So we look at it. Sometimes that's just updating some of our sanitary ware. We've made big inroads into adding cabinetry to the ranges over the last couple of years. Been a big growth area for us, and starting to understand the demographics of who we're serving. A lot more of our teenage kids aren't leaving; they're coming home. You know how we use space and so on. So we have quite an in-depth understanding of the demo requirement. We work with our suppliers in Asia, but we drive it from our end first, and then work with them. So it's quite comprehensive. The only challenge, I suppose, working on sanitary ware is the lead times. It takes a long time to develop it properly, to get the right level of quality, but we are currently working on that. And watch this space, we've got new ranges coming out this year.
Okay, well, I think the clock's probably beaten us.
Okay.
So thank you very much for joining us, Gary.
Thank you very much
very much for sitting here. Thank you.
Thank you.